What parenting trend you strongly disagree with? Recording your children when you punish them. That's private, not for the public. Anything posted on the internet lasts forever. And children are cruel, wait until at school see. They will carry that their entire lives. The cyberbullying was coming from inside the house. My biggest and cruelest bullies were always adult members of my own family. Putting your child's life on the social media. And monetizing it. I blame that honey boo boo shit. The first pioneer of that was supposed to be Peter Sellers. It was said that he had his entire life videotaped every day, everywhere he went, for decades, in hopes of someday editing it and showing an autobiography of his life. When he died, however, no one was interested, and it was never done. Overscheduling activities. When I was teaching, I remember my kindergartners telling me they had no time to play because every day consisted of non-stop structured sports, dance and such. When I was teaching, A had an 8-year-old student who kept falling asleep in class. We found out it was because Dad was getting him up at 5 for sports practice. I had a friend growing up who every day his dad would make him get up an hour early before school, so like 6 a.m., to go and shoot a number of baskets, I think 50 or 100, can't remember, before school and then again after school before he could go out and play. That was just the tip of the iceberg. Once we got to middle school, they started paying to have him go to school in other towns so he would be able to make the basketball team. Eventually he started acting out, and last time I heard is a mess, mid-30s, no license, job, etc. His dad basically damaged his own son's life and development all so he could live out a fantasy of him playing in the NBA, which wasn't going to happen. I am so thankful that none of my parents were trying to relive their childhood through me. I played sports because I wanted to. Overprotection. Kids need to slowly, safely learn to manage risk, and that means that they must take risks. Not letting kids learn this hurts them as adults, and preparing kids for lives as adults is really what parenting is all about. Last year I taught my son about risk versus reward. He always raced down the hill from school, and it made me nervous because the sidewalk has big cracks in it and some of the pieces stick up a little bit. I told him I don't want him to run because I'm afraid he'll fall, but it's up to him. Is the reward of running worth the risk of falling? He decided it was, and one day he walked in, sobbing, because he had fallen and hurt himself. Once I had comforted him and cleaned him up, I asked if it was worth it and he said yes, lol. Not letting their kids make mistakes. My father-in-law made sure his daughters, my sisters-in-law, never had to experience a single consequence or reaction for their mistakes. They are adults in their late 20s now and both cannot handle the slightest gust of wind. They are very immature and developmentally arrested. One of them has never worked or paid a bill, and this is not a rich family. Oversharing stuff about your kids on social media. A picture of little Johnny's poop in the potty is not cute, it's disgusting. You wouldn't post a picture of your own feces in the toilet, doesn't make any difference coming from a 2-year-old. I had a former coworker tell me her 2-year-old daughter found her clit. I feel so disgusting just typing that. She has no filter or online. Edit, the little girl found her own, not her mom's. What a day to be literate. Edit, y'all are having too much fun with the clitorate puns. Lol, 2 wholesome awards. I don't think those really fit the bill here. Making your child terrified to fail. I gave up on so many things because I repeatedly got called duck and idiot if I wasn't instantly an expert. I have a friend with a 9-year-old brother, and the kid won't do anything because he is too scared to fail. He doesn't even want to ride bikes because he is too scared to fail, and honestly it's pretty sad. Extremely strict rules in general. I had a childhood friend that came over after school once and he said he had to be home by 6. Didn't think much of it, so we lost track of time playing games. He lived about a 10-minute walk up the street and he noticed it was 5:52, then started freaking out. My dad's gonna kill me if I'm late. I tried saying he wouldn't care. About 2 minutes the next day in school, my friend said he wasn't allowed over my house anymore, and I never hung out with him again, all over this kid being 2 minutes late getting home. I don't think I would have thought of it when I was a kid, but reading a situation like this now, it just screams abuse of some kind. As someone who was emotionally and mentally abused as a child, this was a bread and butter tactic. Setting boundaries for your child, however silly they may seem, was once given a curfew a mere hour after I arrived at the friend's house, and if your child fails it then gives the parent justification in the following abuse. I don't want to have to do this, but you're 3 minutes late and you don't follow the rules, so, etc. My dad used to do this all the time. In fact, one of these scenarios is what made me take all my shit and leave 20 minutes later. I got yelled at because I didn't come immediately home after school. I had stopped for gas. Lol. But I said, immediately. I totally understand, and grew up with very similar laws. I still struggle with the nature of the abuse I went through. It's something I was unaware of until I spoke to other people about their upbringing and realized what I went through wasn't normal. A parent's intentions can come from places other than evil, though it doesn't change the effect it has on children. Abuse is abuse and it lives with you. I know what I went through was not done from malicious intent, which is important to remember for myself, too. You coming home immediately, a rule I had to live by too, but that rule could have been made out of the thought of protection and love initially, but transformed into a vehicle of power and control. And that's the sad part about a lot of it. Not saying no to your children. I don't understand the logic. Setting behavioral boundaries and maintaining those boundaries through black and white logic makes perfect sense to me. This for me too. My boyfriend's 10-year-old niece is never told no. Both her parents and grandparents let her do whatever she wants, and then act shocked when she misbehaves. But if they say no, they'll crush her creative spirit. I'm terrified for what that girl will be like when she gets older. She's already immensely entitled, and it will only get worse from here. Disciplining children based on what other parents are doing. What works for one kid won't work for others. Frick man, I can't even discipline my kids based on what works on their sibling lol. Boy, was that a hard lesson when my kids were younger. What worked for one most definitely did not work for the other. One found it torturous to be separated from the action, time out in bedroom, while the other would be like, wahoo! Alone time. Oh man, this is my kids. One gets time out in their room, and it's an hour of wailing and thrashing. The other gets time out in their room, and they are happily singing songs while reading and drawing. Right, then you start thinking, well, is this an appropriate punishment for child X? It sure isn't working as a deterrent. So then you change the punishment and they're all like, my sister did the same thing and she just got sent to her room. Why do I have to shovel snow? Because you think time in your room is a reward, and I'm not going to reward you for eating a dozen cookies while I was on the toilet. Parents who give their children the silent treatment, going hours, days, or longer without speaking, making the children feel guilty, ashamed, and confused about what the real problem is instead of dealing with it openly and forthrightly. I don't know if this counts, but I dated a girl whose father saw her kissing a boy at like 1314. He completely broke off contact with her. By that I mean they lived in the same house, he paid the bills and would ask her administrative questions. Do you need anything from the store? What time do you need me to pick you up? Besides that, he didn't speak to her until her first long-term relationship. The level of mental-emotional damage this dude did is indescribable. Edit, I didn't expect this to get so much attention. It seems like this is more common than it has any business being. In case anyone is wondering, the girl is doing well and, from what I can tell, has a wonderful life. It didn't work out between us, but I'm grateful for the time I had with that beautiful person. To all of you who went through something similar, I'm truly sorry it happened to you. You deserve better, and please don't let anyone make you think different. I had a friend who introduced her parents to a guy she was dating. At 20 years old, first hint of dating, not a boyfriend or living together, mind you. Her mother completely shut her out and her dad followed suit, though she cried and begged to know what was wrong. It took her a week to talk to her, and the mom dumped on her that she had an aunt somewhere, who got pregnant young and was disowned by their entire family including her mom. Mid-1970s Catholic family, and they all decided the woman just never existed. Needless to say, my friend lost all trust that she had a good relationship with her parents. Nothing but good grades and obedience and church and good choices for 20 years, and she learned in one fell swoop that A, her mom had dropped a family member completely, and B, not only did she think the worst of her daughter in the moment, but one bad choice and she would suffer the same fate as her estranged aunt. Not only did she think the worst of her daughter in the moment, I do not understand this attitude. I was always a good kid, but my mom basically always assumed the worst about everything when raising me. And I mean everything. I learned to lie and sneak around, about perfectly normal things like hanging out with friends, what books I was reading, etc., because it was the only way to keep her from assuming I was up to no good. Parents should trust their kids unless given actual reason not to. Otherwise you just teach your kids to be deceitful, which is the opposite of what you actually want. Distrust the people and they become untrustworthy.